Now then, I'm going to be reacting to a video about the EU dumping WhatsApp. So if you want to watch this without me talking, the link is in the description. If you continue past this point, I'm going to presume you want to know what I've got to say about this. If you stay past this point and then complain that I'm talking, that's your fault for not listening to what I'm saying now at the beginning of the video. Saying that, we'll now continue and find out exactly what is happening with the EU and WhatsApp.
Last month, Belgium, Poland and the Netherlands became the latest European countries to roll out a domestic messaging service for public sector workers, following similar moves last year by Germany and France, in an effort to reduce their dependence on the American apps WhatsApp and Signal. It follows reports last month that Russian-backed hackers were impersonating European officials on Signal in an effort to obtain sensitive information, which
I mean, I can struggle to see this is the fault of the carriers. Surely this is the fault of the politicians for being morons, no?
Which then led to Brussels telling senior officials to shut down a Signal group chat last month. On top of that, last week, the European Commission sent a second charge sheet to Meta as part of its ongoing antitrust probe into WhatsApp, arguing that its new AI chatbot policy appears to be, quote, an abuse of its dominant position, in violation of the EU's competition rules. So,
I'm not sure which one I'm really agreeing with here. I mean, I'm not exactly in favour of Facebook and Meta monopolising certain markets, but then, I'm not in favour of the EU trying to forward these poxy laws that they keep trying to think up. But, we'll continue for now.
In this video, we'll explain the EU's ongoing battle with Meta and why European governments are now ditching WhatsApp. If you love staying informed and want some of the best reporting on YouTube, then subscribe and ring the bell for more. So let's start with some context, because these most recent moves against WhatsApp haven't come out of the blue, and the EU has actually been in a long-standing antitrust battle with WhatsApp and its parent company Meta.
I mean, I'm going to just presume this is all along the same thrust of what happened with the Online Safety Act and Australia's similar sort of bill that they passed, essentially kind of trying to curtail communication. They're using it as the politicians are big dummies, so they need to stamp down on it there. But, if they're going to curtail the politicians doing it, then are they going to try and enforce the rest of us to do it? I would say so, but, maybe I'm wrong.
This dispute stems from the fact that WhatsApp is by far the biggest messaging app in Europe, used by more than 85% of people in Germany, Romania, Italy, Ireland, Portugal and Spain. And this extreme market dominance has led to growing concerns amongst policymakers and regulators about limited consumer choice and the potential for anti-competitive.
I mean, to be fair though, there's always going to be one that's better than the others with this sort of thing. It's not really like PlayStation and Xbox, where there's two different systems that are got different exclusives. I know it's a bad example. Some of the gamers are going to be saying that essentially not much of an issue these days in gaming. But at the same time, I still do think that the market will decide which is the best messaging service, and the market has obviously decided that WhatsApp is the superior messaging service, and I would agree with that. I mean, I don't want companies monopolising everything, but at the same time, seems like a bit of a waste of energy unless they are actually trying to control us all.
Competitive behaviour against other platforms. Anyway, back in December 2025, the EU opened a formal antitrust investigation into Meta to assess whether its new policy on AI providers' access to WhatsApp, announced in October 2025, violated EU competition rules. Essentially, the EU was concerned that Meta's WhatsApp Business Solution tool, an AI chatbot that allowed businesses to communicate with customers via WhatsApp, prevented non-Meta AI providers, such as OpenAI, from being able to operate on WhatsApp in the European Economic Area.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably not very market friendly of Facebook. So yeah, to be fair, I think that's a valid criticism. But at the same time, do Meta want to help their competitors? It's a tricky one.
EEA, whilst only allowing Meta's service, Meta AI, to operate on the platform. The EU was concerned that Meta's policy violated its competition rules, specifically Article 102 of the Treaty of the Functioning of the European Union and Article 54 of the EEA Agreement, both of which deal with the, quote, abuse of a dominant position within the EU's internal market, or the EEA. In February, the EU then sent a statement of objections, effectively a document setting out charges, to Meta, saying its policy appeared to be a breach of EU competition rules. In response, on March the 4th, Meta then published a revised AI policy, reversing the ban, but instead introducing a pricing framework that applied only to third-party AI providers, such as OpenAI and Anthropic. Specifically, these AI chatbot providers would be allowed to offer their services on WhatsApp, but only for a fee of between around 5 cents to 13 cents per non-template message, which are generally messages used for customer support.
Okay then, so what's the problem here? Is it because they're charging them? Is it these companies don't want to pay this? I know I'm cutting off the video here, but just sort of struggling to see how this has managed to mushroom into the fact that WhatsApp are, in trouble.
In their policy document, Meta specified with an example that if a user in Italy sends an AI provider a prompt and the AI provider delivered 3 non-template message responses to the user over a span of 5 minutes, that will incur 3 charges. However, while these fees might sound tiny at first, at scale they could easily become costly for providers, which would likely choose to pass on those costs to businesses. As such, businesses on WhatsApp...
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that they will try and force that cost somewhere else. They'll not want to pay it themselves. That's what usually happens with any other sort of sector or part of the economy. Any sort of price increase is usually, trickled down to the, from their perspective, hopefully to the consumer. But then that's obviously we as consumers, we don't really appreciate that.
WhatsApp would be encouraged to use Meta's own AI chatbot, which offers free non-template messages within a certain customer service window rather than pay to use another provider. As such, last Wednesday, the European Commission sent another charge sheet to Meta, arguing that its proposal to charge fees for rival AI chatbots on WhatsApp was effectively equivalent to banning their access. The EU's antitrust chief, Teresa Ribera, said, "Replacing the legal ban with pricing that has a similar effect does not change our preliminary view that Meta's conduct appears to be an abuse of its dominant position that may seriously harm competition on the market for AI assistance."
It's a bit hypocritical politicians saying this, like that companies are abusing their dominant position. And correct, yeah, but so are you. So you, European Union. Why? What other alternative do we have to the European Union? Just the European Union. There's no, can't vote them out, can't vote them in. They abuse their dominant position all the time. So this, while they might be correct, this is definitely a case of the pot calling the kettle black, in my opinion.
In response, a Meta spokesperson said the European Commission was, quote, proposing to use its regulatory powers to enable some of the largest companies in the world to use the paid-for WhatsApp business product for free, claiming that a small bakery in France paying to use the service to take croissant orders will be picking up the tab for OpenAI, and arguing small businesses shouldn't foot OpenAI's bill.
Yeah, I would agree with this. I would agree.
But the WhatsApp antitrust issue is just one part of the EU's wider battle against US big tech. As we've covered in previous videos, Europe is trying to reduce its strategic dependence on foreign, especially American tech, and build up Europe's so-called digital sovereignty. This is...
I mean, we could have done this a lot sooner rather than destroying all these European countries and making it so the talent wants to go to the USA, etc. Or, Singapore, Japan. It's sort of a problem of our own making, and I think we do need to resolve it. I think taking it out on the American tech companies is probably not the most effective way to remedy this.
Is largely in reaction to US President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly threatened Europe since his return to office in January 2025, and has proved both willing and able to exercise leverage over big tech firms in the US. This has made European policymakers and electorates anxious about the US either using its technological dominance to surveil Europe or cut off access to certain services. An SWG polling Europe...
I mean, not to be cynical, but the USA would definitely do that. Of course they would. We're foolish to believe otherwise, in my opinion.
Europe survey conducted in January, for instance, found that a majority, 59%, of Europeans think the blocking of digital services by the US is an already real and concrete risk, while an overwhelming 86%...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Americans like to whinge that the UK locks us up, and well, that does happen. It's an infinitesimally... It's a very small amount of people that actually are prosecuted and sent to prison for hurting words on the internet. I mean, that shouldn't be happening at all. But at the same time, every single time I have been censored, and it has come from America. It's been American companies censoring me, saying I can't say things and blocking my accounts and shutting them down and yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, I agree, this is a very real threat. America does seem to like to throw around its weight on what we can and can't say. I mean, I'm not even from your country. I don't care about your constitution or your laws, USA. I want to say what I want on my accounts. Whether they are based in America or not, to me, is an irrelevant point.
Agree that it's at least plausible and should not be ruled out. As such, in an effort to reduce Europe's reliance on WhatsApp and other US messaging platforms like Signal, a number of European governments, including France, Germany, Belgium, Poland, and the Netherlands, are now rolling out secure, open source alternatives to WhatsApp in the public sector. And even the European Commission is also reportedly set to switch to its own messaging service by the end of the year. France's messaging service, Chat, claims to have more than 600,000 users across French state departments, and Belgium's Beam, which launched last month, is intended to serve around 750,000 civil servants.
I mean, this is bad in a way, though, because then that, like, if you talk to somebody in Belgium and they're like, oh, I only use whatever that were called, I forgot already, or in France, and then you can't use it. Because I've had this before, we've spoken to other people in, like, say, Cambodia, and I forgot what theirs is called now. But, like, do you have this? And I'm like, no, I don't have that. I have WhatsApp. Oh, I don't have WhatsApp. You know what I mean? Like, this, in a way, is going to just further separate us all. Going to make it harder for us all to talk to each other, in my opinion.
Military personnel. The Dutch government is also now piloting a project using one of the European alternatives, with a long-term aim of adopting a messaging platform fully controlled by the Dutch government. Essentially, these European domestic alternatives are trying to provide a more secure, sovereign messaging service which complies with EU regulations around data and advertising, and where users aren't at risk of being surveilled or cut off by a foreign government. While France and Germany's domestic alternatives to WhatsApp date back to 2019, when the French service Chat and German service Bundesmessenger were launched, Trump's return to office has accelerated and revitalized these initiatives. In October, Germany released the latest version of its Bundesmessenger app, which was initially designed as a secure WhatsApp for soldiers, explicitly calling it an expression of digital sovereignty, and noting that the app fully complies with German data protection standards, is used by the German armed forces, and is developed transparently. The website...
I have no sort of issue with this, I suppose. I have no issue with countries creating their own, but I don't know. It kind of speaks to a bit of like pride in that we're going to be separated from each other. I don't know. I see both sides of this argument. I see like the concern that we're all using one system that can be shut down at any time by somebody in another country. But then at the same time, I see how it's fragmenting as like the sort of, I don't know. I know right wingers won't like this, but the global village sort of concept. They're making it harder for us all to essentially integrate with each other.
Site adds, unlike commercial services and providers, no data is sold and no advertising is displayed. At the moment, this shift is mostly happening within government and civil service departments, but there's reason to think that it could expand to other professional and public-facing services across Europe in future, if concerns about American tech and data sovereignty linger. Keeping up to date with stories like these and doing independent journalism requires a lot of constant research across all corners of the internet, and even sometimes calls for...
Right, so that's the NordVPN advert. So yeah, I mean, if you want to get NordVPN, I'm sure that, yeah, look, here they are. We can scan it there. Oh, my head's in the way. Right, okay. So yep, still play their advert for them. Get NordVPN if you so wish. I'm not sponsored by them at all, but, you know, I have just... use their video to respond to. But yeah, in the case of this, I see it from both angles. I do think that we need to be careful of the USA throttling our services and, you know, booting us off, because that's the only way I've ever been censored before is from the USA. But on the flip side, I don't want, personally, I don't want societies around the world to become even more fragmented, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'll keep my eye on this, I suppose. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by. Ta-ta.